Okay, let's continue Krebs cycle. So all these names you see here on the top, these are all the names given to the same process, Krebs cycle. And if you see them anywhere, they're all referring to the same process, right? Okay, so what happens is, let's recall that if we were getting two carbon compound from the link reaction called as acetyl-CoA. This acetyl-CoA will go into Krebs cycle. Why are we calling it a cycle? Because it is a continuous process and it goes on. It's not a simple reaction in which products and reactant combine together and then reactants combine together and products are formed. Here you see the same products are getting recycled, and then only acetyl-CoA comes, and then all the products are then reformed, and then the cycle goes on and on. Okay, right? So let's begin. As you recall, we reached the point of getting a two carbon compound acetyl-CoA, and then that acetyl-CoA goes into the Krebs cycle where it meets with a four carbon compound called oxaloacetate, and then oxaloacetate joins with acetyl-CoA to give a six carbon compound which is citrate, right? So in this whole process you'll see that there are many all these intermediates, they have specific names, but we don't need to know them right now. What we need to know is what processes are going on here, right? So essentially there are going to be two main processes here, decarboxylation and dehydrogenation, which you'll see later as we move through the cycle. So acetyl-CoA combines with four carbon oxaloacetate to give us citrate, and then citrate is isomerized to isocitrate, and then isocitrate, which is the name of this compound, then isocitrate, what happens is, you see this is decarboxylation happening right here. You see what decarboxylation means, that a carbon is leaving, right? For decarboxylation, one carbon is decarboxylation, right? Decarboxylation, a carbon dioxide gas, one carbon molecule is leaving, then we're left with a five carbon compound. And also what happened in this process is NAD was reduced to NADH, or reduced NADH, right? So what happened here is the six carbon compound was oxidized, and then NAD was reduced, and also it was decarboxylated. Then it became a five carbon compound, then one more carbon left as carbon dioxide, and it became a four carbon compound, right? Then again it was dehydrogenated and NAD was reduced, we get a four carbon compound. Then by substrate phosphorylation, I don't know if I discussed substrate phosphorylation in the last video, but substrate phosphorylation means that when in processes like when a reactant or an intermediate in a series of reaction moves into product, it has a phosphate attached to it, and ADP comes and takes that phosphate with it and leaves as ATP. So we're getting ATP from the reactant or the substrate. That's why we're calling it as substrate level phosphorylation, right? This is different from oxidative phosphorylation, which we'll see that later. So remember that point here. I'll give a hint about substrate level phosphorylation when we discuss oxidative phosphorylation again. Then this four carbon compound by substrate level phosphorylation makes an ATP, and then FAD, here comes an FAD, it is reduced to FADH2 or FAD reduced, and then we move with the same carbon, four carbon, then four carbon is formed into another metabolite and then another metabolite, and then here again we reach oxaloacetate, but what happens here is the NAD is reduced. In this process we get a reduced NAD, and you see what I told you earlier, what a cycle is, that we're going to get acetyl-CoA every time, and then all these these metabolites are going to remain the same. The six carbon compounds here, citrate remains the same, and all these carbon compounds whose names are not very essential for you to remember at this point, these are going to remain the same, just like oxaloacetate remains the same and citrate remains the same, right? And oxaloacetate is a four carbon compound. So what happened in this cycle, what we needed and what we got, we needed ATP from this cycle, which will provide us with energy, and we get high energy carrying hydrogen carrying carriers, which are NADH and FADH2. Also we got two molecules of carbon dioxide, right? So two molecules of carbon dioxide left cycle, right? And ATP, how many ATP did we got here? We got 1 ATP, and how many NADHs we have here from this cycle coming? We have 3 NADHs coming from this cycle and 1 FADH2. So remember this, we're going to use this NADH and FADH2 in oxidative phosphorylation or electron transport chain to produce ATP, right? So this ends